Okay, those were tough acts to follow. That was a lot of really great information. I'm going to localize the discussion a bit to my home community of Peterborough. And yesterday when I signed in to the Delta here, they said, oh, you know, are you new to Montreal? I said, oh, I've been to Montreal. Where are you from? Peterborough, where's that? So for those of you who don't know where Peterborough is, we are about 150 kilometers northeast of the city of Toronto, about 3 hours west of Ottawa. So we're slightly outside of what is affectionately known as the GTA, where we're from in southern Ontario. Our CMA, Census Metropolitan Area, is about 119,000 people. So that's sort of just the context for who we are and where we're from. So, forward. There we go. So again, my name is Jason Stabler, and I am the coordinator of the Peterborough Partnership Council on Immigrant Integration, and that's what we decided to call our local immigration partnership in Peterborough. We didn't think LIP had enough of an acronym to it, so we thought we'd add a few more letters. We were one of the early adopters of the LIP program back in 2008. Our host agency is the New Canadian Centre Peterborough. That's the only settlement service agency in our community, in fact, serving a multi-county area in southern Ontario. We currently have approximately 60 organizations, 150 members that are involved in the work of our LIP. So the first thing that we did, like all LIPs, was to develop our integration strategy. And so our integration strategy, you can see here, there are 21 broad objectives that we set out to meet over a 5-year period. And we categorized them according to the sector in which we thought that they would be achieved within, as well as the themes that they sort of relate to within the broader community. So you can see along the left side of the chart, themes like capacity building, access to services, opportunities for participation, attraction and retention, research and development. So that's where we started. And underneath each of those objectives that you'll see in those boxes were a series of actions that we thought needed to be taken within the community in order for us to be able to meet those broader community objectives. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was in law school is that sometimes simple is better. So you can actually in court just define something by reading it out from the dictionary. It doesn't have to come from case law or statutory law. So we thought, why don't we do simple is better for our first crack at measurement? And we basically started counting. So we said, okay, we were about a year and a half into our work on our integration strategy, and we said, what's going on? Let's just identify what's going on in the community in terms of the work that we're doing, what's going on in terms of the work that people not necessarily involved in the LIP, but advancing sort of goals of the integration strategy are doing, and that's where we started. So taking those list of actions that I just told you about. We said, what's going on this year? What are activities that are planned in future years of the integration strategy? And we were able to get a sort of a sense of what's happening and what might be happening in our community. Now, this was really useful for us because it allowed us to look about 2 years into our strategy. We were able to look at what was going on. So this is a pie chart describing the programs. This would have been about 2012, how they break down in the community in terms of the sectors, so whether this is being carried out in economic development or the education sector, and then the theme down the side. So using that information, we were able to see some areas in the community where we weren't getting the traction that we needed to get to be able to achieve our objectives, and we used that to apply for funding or leverage funding as is the language from the Ontario Trillium Foundation to be able to deliver some work in the community around coordination of ESL services in our community, diversity training or cultural diversity training for various organizations within the community. So this very early sort of measurement of what we were doing allowed us to say, hey, we could be stronger in this area, and we went out and we sought resources to be able to do that, and we're successful in achieving that. Then in 2012, I attended the LIP conference, and we received, I don't know how many, but there were a lot of presentations all about measurement. So the theme was very, very clear in 2012 that we weren't quite sure what measurement was going to look like, but it was very clear that we were going to have to measure what we do. So we left that conference and started looking at what some of our colleagues were doing. So our colleagues in Kingston, York, and Durham in particular were very helpful in sharing the information that they were, the ways in which they're measuring their outcomes. So that was our starting point. And so that led us to 2013, the development of our outcomes measurement framework. We based the process of developing this upon some work that had been done by the United Way in the United States that was adapted by our local United Way in Peterborough for Canadian use. So what you'll see is the long-term outcome, the overall goal of our LIP is to improve our community's inclusivity and welcomeness for newcomers. The medium-term outcomes that you see in the middle row, those correspond to the sectors that I described in our integration strategy. So newcomers are economically integrated, newcomers are socially integrated, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the short-term outcomes are the things that we do, where we work on or we're trying to achieve in order to get to those longer-term outcomes. And, of course, whether or not they actually do those things is what Victoria was just talking about. So to determine whether we're meeting our short-term outcomes, we developed indicators, which is what you do in outcomes measurement to be able to determine that. So we started counting, essentially. So you can see this is just one of the intermediate outcomes. Newcomers are economically integrated. So there are a series, I think there's 4 of them, three initial outcomes, and then a series of indicators that gets at all of them. So we started counting, for example, the number of newcomers who we knew were now employed, who weren't employed prior to working with them. We counted the number of connections between newcomers and employers. That's a large part of what our settlement agency does, workplace integration, where they're connecting people for informational interviews or other types of mentorship relationships. And we've gathered this information now. This is our 3rd year of gathering the information. So this is very useful for us because as an early adopter of the LIP program, our integration strategy, the time period for it is coming to an end. So we're in the process right now of planning for the next 5 years of what the work we need to do, and the information that we're gathering through our outcomes measurement will be very much embedded into the development of our next integration strategy. So the LIP logic model, so our model is it's not completely aligned with the LIP logic model. We certainly didn't base it directly upon the LIP logic model, but I think, reading through the P2P research paper and sort of looking at what we've done, certainly very much of what we've done in terms of measuring our outcomes and the work that we've done is in alignment with that model. So that's a good thing. So you can see the LIP community inventory of projects that we undertook is very much consistent with the systemic recording of outputs and outcomes, as well as the collection of data from individuals participating in the LIP and from those attending our events. So here's some other examples working with the Rural Ontario Institute's benchmarking tool is very much consistent with other parts of the LIP model. We've done surveys. We track our membership on a regular basis, and at any given point in time, we can tell you how many activities we have going on in the community. So all of those things are consistent with the model, but they're not necessarily embedded in our outcomes measurement framework. So this is in relation to the presentation. So that Victoria just came, the paper that the presentation was based upon. So we very much agree that there's a need for standardized or transferable performance measures across the LIPs. While we like our model, it would be very useful, obviously, for us to say, is our information comparable to what our colleagues are doing elsewhere in Ontario or in other parts of the country? I do think that it's important while we develop those standards, and this is something that came out of the 2012 conference as well, that there be the ability to measure those unique things that are happening within communities, because each community is a little bit different. So I think having those Allowing for those realities to be recognized within the model, I think, is very important. And I think very important to its success will be that we all understand how to use it the same way, because if we don't understand how to use it the same way, it's going to defeat the purpose of having a standardized tool that we can use for comparing. So those are all the things that I pulled out of the P2P research paper that I think we're very much supportive of. And the good news, and so I'm slightly biased about this, but much of what we've done, of course, and this could be because we're in that research report, we were one of the subjects, we're doing a lot of the things that are in the proposed toolkit. So for us, we'd very much be interested in being involved in any sort of work going forward in terms of consultations for the development of that model. The one thing that is in this last slide was supposed to be a note to myself, but I didn't catch it in the editing, which was put in data on this. That's what it says right there. So we have been able to, in our work in our LIP, leverage now 36% of our the funding for the work we do is from non-CIC sources, and so that is one of the things that is a measurable or proposed measurable, and so I just wanted to sort of highlight that that's one that we're very happy that we've been able to achieve. Of course, it's nothing against CIC, but one of the things we were told to do a long time ago was to go out and look for those resources in the community. We've done that, and we've been happy to be able to do that. So, so that's my presentation. Thanks so much.